We built a life over 8 years, shared homes, dreams, everything. Then I found the first emotional affair. I thought we could fix it. Then I found the another affair. 30 male, have been with my girlfriend, 30 female, for 8 years. It's hard to even describe how intertwined our lives became. It wasn't just a relationship, it was a friendship that bloomed over time and eventually became home for both of us. We were co-workers first, friends next. The kind of friends who stayed late after work just to talk, who walked to the train together even if we lived in opposite directions. She had a boyfriend back then and I always kept it respectful. Even when we flirted a little, it was never with bad intent. Just connection. Natural, easy. There was always something unspoken between us, but I never acted on it. After she broke up with her boyfriend, things between us took off. Fast. And at the time, it felt right. Familiar but thrilling, like we were finally catching up to what we both already knew. It was my first serious relationship and probably hers too, at least in the way it felt real. Like we were building something. Of course, it wasn't always smooth. I was jealous at first. Insecure. She was beautiful, vibrant, kind. People noticed her. I struggled with feeling good enough for someone like that. But I didn't let it eat away at me. I wanted to be better. I worked on myself, got to the root of that jealousy, and we grew together. We talked about everything. That's what I always thought was our superpower: communication. Vulnerability. I made it a rule early on. We never go to bed angry. It was something my grandmother used to say, and I carried it into this relationship like a torch. I believed in it. I believed in us. Fast forward to now. 8 years in. She lives full-time at my mom's house, where we both stayed during the pandemic and what eventually just became our home. I work in another city a few days a week, so I keep a small apartment near my office. It's not ideal, but we made it work. I came home every weekend. I called, texted, checked in. We said we were building a future. But a few weeks ago, I came home and something felt off. Not dramatically. Not like a fight was brewing. Just a weird, quiet distance. The kind that doesn't make noise but fills every room. I noticed she barely looked up from her book. Didn't smile like she usually did. Didn't ask about my week. So I asked. I didn't press, but I said, "You seem distant. Are you okay?" And she said it again, that thing she said before. "You don't do the little things anymore." I've heard that line before. Every time, I take it seriously. I try harder. I started coming home more often, even when work made that hard. I brought her flowers. Took her to her favorite Thai spot. Bought her a scarf she mentioned once in passing. Hell, I even planned a whole camping trip because she loves nature and I hate bugs, but I was trying. She nodded and said she noticed. But that it wasn't enough. That I still didn't remember the details, her exact Starbucks order, the kind of lilies she likes, how she prefers her coffee just slightly less sweet than how I make it. She said I'd always had a bad memory for that kind of stuff. And she's not wrong. I do forget the small things sometimes. But never on purpose. I've always felt like I was trying to love her in all the ways I could. That night, she looked at me and asked, "Do you really think we're right for each other?" And though she said that before during tough times, something in her voice this time made my chest tighten. Still, she swore there was no one else. That this wasn't about another person, but about us not growing in the same direction anymore. She said she still loved me, but maybe we were too different now. She cried. I held her. I didn't know what else to do. I kept thinking, this is just a phase. We've been through worse. But then, I couldn't sleep. And I did something I never thought I would. I waited until she was asleep and checked her phone. Nothing. No red flags, no weird texts. But something didn't sit right. So I checked her iPad. Again, nothing obvious. But then I remembered. The recently deleted folder. And that's where I found it. Messages to someone I didn't recognize. Not explicit but emotional. Intimate. Things like, "You make me feel so seen," and "I can't stop thinking about last weekend." There were messages about me, too. Little complaints, jokes at my expense. Stuff you don't say if you're just venting to a friend. I don't know if they slept together. Maybe. Maybe not yet. But emotionally, she was gone. Now, as it started with a gut feeling. You know, the kind, low-level unease that turns into quiet suspicion. Something in her had shifted. The way she pulled away when I kissed her forehead. How she started bringing her phone to the bathroom. Little things that didn't scream betrayal, but whispered it just loud enough for me to notice. I never expected perfection. 8 years together teaches you that no relationship is seamless. We've been through our fair share of rough patches, but we always circled back to each other. Always. So when I felt her drifting, I thought, we've been here before. We can come back from this too. She told me I didn't do the little things anymore. That I'd stopped trying. That I forgot her Starbucks order, missed subtle cues, didn't notice when her favorite shampoo ran out. And I had been trying. I came home more. I planned dates. I brought flowers. I even carved out time to take her on a camping trip, something I hate but she loves. Still, nothing seemed to reach her. I knew something was up. And late one night, I gave into the urge I swore I'd never act on. I went through her iPad. At first, there was nothing. But then I opened the recently deleted folder. A guy from a liquor store near her job had started chatting with her back in January. At first, the messages were casual, harmless, even. But by February, they got flirtier. March got personal. By late March, they turned sexual. She told him about her problems. They joked about breaking up with me. They talked about going on hikes together. She called him cute. Said she liked talking to him more than me. She confided in him things that, for months, she'd kept from me. It wasn't just the sexual stuff, it was the intimacy. She gave him the version of herself I used to know best. And then, a few days before my birthday, he sent her a dick pic. She told him it was too much. Said she couldn't continue. Wrote him a long, emotional goodbye that read more like a breakup than a casual end to a conversation. She said she hoped he found what he was looking for. Said he deserved someone who could give him more. Not exactly the kind of thing you say to some rando you flirted with for fun. I confronted her, sat her down and asked, calmly, if she had anything she wanted to tell me. Gave her every off-ramp to tell the truth. She looked me in the eyes and said, no, nothing. I asked if she'd entertained anyone else. No. Asked if she was hiding something. Of course not. Then I pulled up the messages. Her face dropped. Not in horror or guilt. Just vacancy. Like she was watching a scene from someone else's life. Even then, getting her to admit what I already knew was like pulling teeth. I had the receipts, actual screenshots, and she still danced around the truth. Said it was just texting. Said it meant nothing. Said she didn't want to hurt me, which was why she didn't tell me. That night we went to bed angry. For the first time in forever, we didn't resolve it before sleep. I left for my apartment. I needed space. I was angry, but more than that, I was disoriented. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a breach in the foundation I thought we were still standing on. The next day, she came to me and said she wanted to break up. Just like that. No fighting. No working through it. Just a clean cut. I was floored. She was the one who betrayed me, and yet she was the one walking away. I told her she was running, from guilt, from consequences. And I told her I needed to try before I could let go. I wasn't ready to give up on 8 years without a fight. To my surprise, she agreed. What followed were days, literal days, of marathon conversations. 3 a.m. talks that blurred into sunrise. We stripped ourselves down to the bone. Talked about who we were when we started, who we had become, and whether we still made sense. I told her I didn't forgive her. Not yet, but I was open. I was willing to build something new from the rubble if she was willing to. She cried. Apologized. Said she loved me. That she wanted to stay. But just as I was starting to lean back in, to let my guard down again, I made the mistake of trusting that what I'd already found was the full story. And that's when I found out about the second guy. Not from her. She didn't come clean. I caught her again, this time through a string of deleted Instagram messages. A coworker. Different vibe. They weren't talking about dick pics and hiking. They were talking about feelings. He called her beautiful. She called him her safe space. They'd been texting for months, right alongside the liquor store guy. It wasn't physical. At least, not that I could tell. But that almost made it worse. These weren't just one-off moments of weakness. They were connections she built behind my back. Relationships she nurtured while I was fighting to keep ours alive. Then there came another bomb. A few days after everything first started unraveling, after that first gut-wrenching betrayal with the liquor store guy, after the long conversations that bled into the early morning hours, I found myself scrolling through her messages again. I didn't want to. I was exhausted. But something in me, that quiet, painful instinct that develops after years of slow erosion, told me I hadn't seen the whole picture yet. It was just a picture of a fast food place and the words, "Not anymore." That's all. No hearts. No baby or babe. No obvious flirtation. Just vague enough to be innocent, and just strange enough to be something. I couldn't shake it. So, I started digging again. I wanted to believe that the messages I'd already seen were the full scope of what I was dealing with. But of course, they weren't. What I found this time cut deeper than anything I had uncovered before. Turns out, she'd had a second emotional affair. Not recent, this one had started almost 2 years into our relationship. It lasted for nearly 3 years. 3 years of conversations. 3 years of hiding. 3 years of someone else. They didn't sleep together, from what I could gather. I even reached out to him myself under the guise of catching up, and he told me everything. He said they never crossed the physical line beyond a leg-on-lap moment at a company party, but that's not the point. That's never been the point. They said I love you to each other. They sent each other good morning texts. They flirted, sexted, confided in one another. They talked about their lives, their dreams, their disappointments. She told him about me, often. She painted me as inattentive, as forgetful, as someone she couldn't quite connect with. And the thing is, some of that might have been true. I'm not perfect. But instead of telling me, she was telling him. Every time we fought, every time I slipped up, she found comfort in someone else's words. And I never knew. This wasn't some reckless moment of infidelity. This was a sustained, parallel reality she maintained for years. While I was planning anniversaries, saving for trips, fighting my own insecurities to grow into the kind of man I thought she needed, I was competing with a ghost. A version of herself she shared with someone else. After confronting her, after that first betrayal came out, she said she wanted to make it work. She said she still loved me, that we could fix this. She took time off work, drove hours to come see me, slept on the couch in my apartment while I stared at the ceiling night after night, wondering what was left to hold on to. But after finding out about the second guy, something shifted in me. We've been talking, arguing mostly since. Every conversation goes in circles. She apologizes. Says she doesn't know what's wrong with her. That she self-sabotages. That she's terrified of losing me, even though she's the one who created the distance between us. But her words? They feel hollow. Like she's reading from a script. Like she knows exactly what to say, but no longer believes it herself. I keep waiting for something real. A crack in the performance. A moment where I can feel the woman I fell in love with again. But it hasn't come. Not yet. And maybe that's the worst part. Not the lies themselves, but the way they've made me doubt everything. Every good moment now has a shadow behind it. Every memory comes with a question. Was she texting him then? Was she thinking of someone else when she kissed me? Did she ever really choose me? I'm stuck. I haven't made a decision yet, and I know how that sounds. I know people would look at this situation and say, it's obvious. Walk away. And maybe they're right. But it's not that simple when you've built a life with someone. When your identity has become tangled up with theirs. When your future had their name in it, and suddenly the future feels blank. I still love her. I still want to believe we can come back from this. But I also know I deserve better. I deserve honesty. Consistency. I deserve to not feel this constant ache in my chest. I deserve someone who chooses me, fully, every single day. And yet here I am, lost in the middle, carrying the weight of 8 years. Trying to figure out where those years went wrong and how I never saw it coming. I'm not writing this to ask whether I should leave. Deep down, I probably already know the answer. I'm writing this because I feel like I'm standing in the wreckage of something that once felt beautiful, and I don't know how to let it go. If anyone's been through something like this, how did you do it? How did you walk away when your heart still whispered stay? Because right now, I don't need the answer. I just need to feel less alone. Any advice would help me a lot. If any one of you has experienced, I hope nobody experiences this, but if anyone has, that would definitely help me. Should I trust her, or should I let go? Or should I give her another chance? Or should I just break up, because that is the most probable and good outcome I see as a guy who's heartbroken not once but twice from the same woman, and I found out about that from the same process and in a same way. What do you think?